Hey, everybody. Welcome to Satsang. It's that time of the week. I'm glad to be back. And give me 1 minute while I just share this on my other... Hey, everybody. Welcome to Satsang. It's that turn off the sound other places. So... hello, everyone on YouTube. Hello, everyone on Facebook. I'm going to share this. Share it now, public. Your timeline. And I'm going to share it with my group. Share to a page. To the Inner Reconciliation page. Inner Reconciliation. Great. And it is posted there as well. Hello to all. Hello to all, and welcome. It's so good to be here with you all again. After what, 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks. I was traveling. I was visiting my son in Seattle, and actually I'm leaving tomorrow to go visit my other son in Arizona. But thank you for being here. Chris Supernow is watching. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Remington, good to see you here. I love it if you just want to type in where you are, where you're watching from. Hi, Lynn. Well, Evan, my partner at MasterHEART, is watching. Just type in where you are. Make sure, remember that you can type in the chat anytime you like a question about pretty much anything, and I'll be able to, I'll do my best to answer it, you know, as long as it's not about something like Bitcoin. Should you invest in Bitcoin or the like? That I can't say. So I haven't heard anything yet, so I'm assuming everyone can hear me. And so please, if you're here, just chat something so I know you're here, so I can give you a shout out. And this is a time for you, really. It's a time for you to kind of let go of everything that has to do with everything and just let yourself be present with the deepest and most tender parts of ourselves. Our modern life is so hectic and so demanding and so distracting that we're not very kind to ourselves. We're actually pretty hard. We don't give ourselves any tender time to just kind of be gentle, to inquire, to ask ourselves what we want, to feel our feelings. So hello, Mira. Anna's here. Carla. Carla from Mexico. Beautiful. From Astana, Mira Tortoloba. I think I said it right. And David Stewart, hi. Lynn is in Los Angeles. Oh, so good to see a crowd forming. I love it. We got Fortuna Majorly, one from Scotland. This is so great. Chrissy, who I know is in, no, I don't know. New Zealand or Australia. I think it's New Zealand. Maybe it's Australia. I get several in Australia. So thank you all. Perhaps the title attracted your attention. Lived by the Tao. And I worded it that way for a very specific reason. I didn't say living by the Tao or to live the Tao or, how to live the life of the Tao or to embody the Tao. I used lived by the Tao. And I actually got that. It's actually a quote directly from the I Ching, the Tao Te Ching, the Book of Changes, the famous book from Lao Tse-tung. Lao Tse-tung was the guy in Korea or something like that a long time ago. Anyway, this is a translation I've just discovered that's really good by a fellow named Stephen Mitchell that I really love, and it's from the Tao, section 22. He says, "If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up." When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. I really want you to ponder that. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. So what's the Tao? Does anybody here know the Tao? You've heard of the Tao? Do you have just kind of type of yes or something like that? And if not, type a no. Many people have heard of the Tao. Te Ching, the ancient book, I think it's like 2,500 years old. It's very, very ancient, around the time of the Buddha. And it literally means simply the way. The way to what? What do they mean by the way? To really understand the Tao, and to understand this idea of being lived by the Tao rather than trying to live the Tao, to me is one of the key differences between religion as its practice as a set of standards and behaviors with a particular goal in mind, be heaven or purity or merit for more lifetimes. Sorry, somebody just came across the screen and I lost my train of thought. But the religious, the view of religious as a form of behavior, as a form of worship, as opposed to spiritual, which is an inquiry that is not being driven by external assertions of external behavior requirements. Now, that said, I don't take the position, I'm spiritual, not religious, because the magic ingredient, the secret sauce in religion that makes it work at all is the spirit, is the sense of devotion, is the sense of surrender, as opposed to oftentimes on the side of spirituality, it's practice, it's discipline, it's inquiry, which can really kind of get lost in the head just as easily as religion can get lost in fundamentalism and the like. So you actually need both. But one of the key elements in the spiritual journey has to do with, well, you said to be lived by the Tao. You have to be lived by the Tao in order to truly know yourself, to know who you are. Many of you have seen my video called "There Is No Person," where I try to explain how our self-image gets formed, right? And we are so convinced that our self-image is who we actually are, that we never question it. And so even when we become very devoted, we become very religious or very spiritual or very disciplined, very dedicated, there's always this sense of being somebody trying to accomplish something, even if it's a very high and noble thing, like attaining the Tao, attaining enlightenment, attaining full awakening, being fully yourself, being fully self-actualized, right? All of those start from a fundamental premise about who you are. And therefore, they are all more or less alterations and adjustments to behavior. Now, I'm not saying don't make adjustments to behavior. Yes, I would certainly rather be with a bunch of well-behaved and honest egos than I would be with a bunch of misbehaved, dishonest egos, which tend to gravitate towards power, and they're the people running the world right now. But it's way, way more than that. In order to know the Tao, you need, let's put it this way, to know yourself, you have to know the Tao. And the Tao is nothing other than your real nature. Not something you created, not something you have to practice, not something you have to become, but what you actually already are. It's kind of the equivalent of, somebody telling you to practice being a man or practice being a woman when you're a man or a woman, right? You don't have to practice that. You just are. You may not know everything that means, and there's because all sorts of cultural nonsense that's laid on top that's telling you the way you're supposed to behave if you are like that. But the actual act of being that is totally effortless. There's nothing you have to do. This is the nature of the Tao. So to discover the Tao is to discover your true nature. Another word for Tao, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, Shiva being, God, the I am. All of these are different names for that same essential essence that is who you actually are. Now, how do we discover what that is? Well, let's do something very, very simple. Let's do a very simple little exercise while we're all sitting here together. And hello, I got Lucy in South Carolina. I have Sarah. There's some others that passed by so quickly. Let's see if I can get them back. Lucy, okay, got you. And let's see. Puya Mohebpour. Oh, I'm sorry. I just butchered your name. I'm sorry. Question from Remington, who says, may I request a link to the book in English? I can't actually type into the chat now to give it to you, but if you just look it up, Tao Te Ching, Stephen Mitchell is the guy's name on Amazon, and you can find it as Kindle. It's available as an audiobook. As a matter of fact, if you go to YouTube, well, you're on YouTube, you can type it into the search. They have it listed in YouTube with a D rather than a T, DaoDejing, Tao Te Ching. And it's free. I mean, it's just being read by the author, and it's on a video, and you can listen to it. So it's available. And then Puya has a message. Are we a question? Are we a human being, or are we something else, and we just have control of this physical body? That's a very beautiful question. How can I answer that without, you can't take one thing without, you can't take a left hand without a right hand, right? You have to see what is inherent in the human is something much deeper. The human is the Tao. The human is the Tao living as itself. It has always been the Tao. It has always been God living, life living itself. It's only our minds that create the idea that this body here and that body there are separate and independently functioning. They're not. And that they're being self-organized, self-determining, all the choices and free will and all those kinds of things. And yet, when we go to look for free will, when we go to look for the moment of choice, we actually can't find a chooser. But what can we find? So before I answer any more questions, let me just take you through a little tiny exercise to just find something in you that never changes and is effortless to be into experience. So if you want to, you can close your eyes if you can. It's not 100% necessary, but I find it's helpful. It's kind of a meditation. And I want you to just put your attention to start on your body. Just notice how your body actually feels. I want you to hone in on the kinesthetic sense of your body. That is, just feeling it. Right? Now you will notice that as you try to do that, your mind is at first very active. Because every time there's a sensation in the body, your mind wants to identify it, categorize it. This is a good set, this is bad, this means something, this has got to go away. This feels good, it can stay. If your attention goes to your knee, the mind is going to say knee, and maybe even show you a picture of your knee. I want you to notice that those are all images in the mind, and they are not actually the direct experience you're having of your body. And just be with your body. And then notice how effortless it is. You don't have to go out and get it. The sensations that are moving through your body, you don't have to go get them. They don't require any effort. They are simply coming to you. Right? It's very, very important to notice that everything that you are experiencing in your entire life, because it's all coming through this instrument, this vehicle of the body, every last one of those experiences is just coming to you effortlessly. And now see if you can just take that a little bit deeper and see if you can't notice that there's something even more subtle that is aware of the body. There's just a sense of presence, a sense of existing, of being, the sense that I am. And notice you don't have to do anything for that to be there. It's just there. It's yours. And now notice whether or not, try to there this feeling of presence, and forget the name presence, right? The moment I say presence, some of you will think about Eckhart Tolle, and some other people use that term. In Buddhism, they refer to it as suchness, or Buddha nature. Moody refers to it as isness, or presence. But put your attention on the thing itself, and not the idea or thought you have about it. And just notice that you're here. And it's effortless. Now this presence, how far away from you is it? And if it's far away from you, then see if you can take a step back and just be totally here with what is witnessing that presence. And how close is that? In other words, this sense of presence, is it different from you? Is it something else? Or is that you? You see, this whole spiritual journey that people get on, go on for decades, I did, is looking for something that the mind can point at and say, that's me. But notice, right here, the entire time, this sense of presence is you. Now, don't try to put a name on it. Don't try to put an idea on it. Don't try to find, well, what is that? Right? That's the beauty of that term, isness or suchness. It is that and nothing else. No word can capture it. The very first chapter in the Tao, let me bring it up here and read it for you. It's just truly beautiful. All the way back to 1. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. This doesn't need to be named. It doesn't need to be objectified. It doesn't need to be seen, touched, photographed, weighed, measured, or have any attributes assigned to it whatsoever in order to just be. Those of you who've spent any amount of time in spiritual searching, looking for yourself, there you are. The search is over. That is the Tao. What they're referring to as the Tao is not a thing that's attained. It's a revelation that it's you. That is you. In our whole lives, we've just been taught to objectify ourselves, to think of ourselves in insignificant terms, to come up with ideas of ourselves, believe those ideas of ourselves, and then jump in and inhabit that idea so thoroughly that it actually feels like it's true. And suddenly you feel like you're in a whale in a swimming pool made by your mind. And the mind can't grasp what you just touched. You just touched you. What you are searching for is that. It's always been, as St. Francis of Assisi said, what you are looking for is where you are looking from. It is so simple, so direct, so absolute, so unchanging, so perpetual, so ordinary, and so ever present that we never notice it. We're just so used to looking for truth, for the Tao, for God, somewhere outside of ourselves, that we miss the God that is right there inside of us, the sense of I am, the sense of being. I got some questions here I want to take up. I always get more questions from the YouTubers. And let's see. Mark from Vermont. Hi, Mark. Glad to have you here. Shamsa and Puya Mohabpur. I said that, by the way, Puya is a Persian name. Beautiful. And you pronounced it You pronounced it so well. I'm so glad. I try. I just hate butchering people's beautiful names. It's hopelessly Anglo mouth. Shamsa says, can you talk about prayer? Is it actually important, or is it just a religious belief? It can just be a religious belief. It can be the kind of thing that is just reciting things, like in many churches, the rosary and things like that, just kind of get recited mindlessly. Now, if you really do it mindlessly, you end up with a mantra, and it's a good thing. But there's different levels of prayer. There's the prayer of supplication, which is, God, help me. And you can notice that right in the sense of that prayer, is there a sense of me, miserable sinner, separate, isolated, and God, the thing that I am seeking, is this distant, powerful creature that somehow I have to appeal to. So that prayer is very weak, although if it's heartfelt, if it's really devoted, if it really wants to yield to the will of God, it's extremely powerful and extremely essential. If it's just a way to recite things to get what you want, no, it's actually quite destructive. And so I encourage people to pray. I never discourage anybody from any kind of deep spiritual practice. And hello, Angelique. So nice to see you. And Jose, good to see you. I never, ever discourage anybody from any kind of spiritual practice. I invite always to take whatever spiritual practice you're in and make it deeper, to drop the mind from it, to try to get into the heart of it. What do those words mean? What are they for? To what deep, genuine, direct experience of God are these words pointing? At that point, prayer becomes very, very powerful and very humbling, which is what it should be. There's also prayer of affirmation, where there's a sense of God's power and God's presence, and you're literally affirming it in the attempt to just correct your own mind, the habit, that groove your mind gets into of doubt and denial and self punishment and all sorts of things that it does to you. And it's very useful, but no, God is my being. God is my life. God is my truth. It can be very powerful at kind of recreating, reprogramming the system to be more open and expansive. And ultimately, prayer begins to just yield its own will in pure surrender. And that's when it begins to merge with meditation and deeper inquiry and the kind of devotional path that brings somebody to the point that they simply want to so completely sacrifice and renounce their own will so that the will of God can be reflected in them, is the highest achievement of spirituality. There's another step beyond that to go into the inquiry, to actually find the nature of that God that you're surrendering to, which is, you've just seen him, her. She is that energy within you. You call it that, the presence that is you. And then the separation just kind of disappears. And the deep prayer of the monk that says, Lord, replace me with you, becomes significant. You begin to understand the depths to which that goes. I want to let go of everything that isn't you. And then ultimately you let go of the notion that there's a you at all. And I don't mean like just imaginary made God up. I mean you. You let go of who you think you are, and the only thing that remains is God. I've quoted this poem before, but it's appropriate here again. It's one of my favorites, very short, 4 lines from a 12th century mystic named Lin Po. And it goes, the bird disappears into the sky. The cloud dissolves and drains. We sit together, the mountain and I, until only the mountain remains. That is the sentiment of prayer. That's the kind of prayer that I encourage. Let's see, from Puya. I read somewhere enlightenment is simply shifting from left hemisphere to right hemisphere. The rest is just extra details. Is that true? No, enlightenment is when you leave the hemispheres. The hemispheres are the functioning of the nervous system, of the energy system. You are way more of that. Earlier on, was it you, Puya, who asked, as a human being, we something else? Oh, as a human being, are we human beings or are we something else and just have control over this body? I think if you got to the point in that exercise where I want you to get to, you may notice that you are something other than the body, that what you are is that. And it is not contained in or limited by or determined by the body, any more than the pianist is limited by the piano. The quality and quantity and character of the expression of that pianist will be different if he's playing on a funky old piano in a bar somewhere, or if he's playing on a 9-foot Steinway grand in Carnegie Hall. The what is being expressed will be very different, but the who that is being expressed will not be. This body is an instrument. That's all it is. An instrument that is constantly changing. You are not your body. And that's the great mystery. You are that presence, and that presence is not the body. I mean, in material sciences these days, the material view is that consciousness, the experience of a self, the experience of being, is a byproduct of the development, evolution, and functioning of matter. It is an emerging property. Somehow, although it's not understood how, matter became so complex and subtle and interactive that it gave birth to what we call consciousness. And yet, you look at any aspect, take anything apart, and you can find consciousness in none of it. Consciousness is always what's looking. It's never what's looked at. That pure presence, that pure awareness is your being. That is what you are. It was there before this body came online. It's been there through every experience you've ever had. It will be there when this body dissolves back into the elements. And it'll witness the arising of the next one, and the one after that, 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 until it realizes that it's not any of those bodies, that those bodies are just a sequence of dreams. So you're shifting out of the body. It doesn't mean yes, there's a functioning in us that is very logical and ordered. That's what's referred to as the left brain, and the right brain very creative. And I've used those examples all the time, especially to people when I'm not doing satsang, when I'm not speaking at the absolute level like I am now. I use all sorts of examples because the absolute truth that I'm talking about, the Tao, is in fact expressed, made manifest in this incredible neurology. As a matter of fact, there's no center to the brain. We have this sense of there being a center, right? That everything is being, pumped into this one central little place where everything's being done, right? That's our experience. The experience is the unity and singularity of consciousness. It's like this one place we are that is experiencing everything. That doesn't exist in the brain. There is no center. The visual cortex is, the part that sees may have a conversation with another part to react in some way, and this part over here never sees it. There's no center to any of this. Something holds this whole mysterious thing together, holds it into a pattern, even though it's constantly changing, millions, so fast it's completely indetectable. Yet we have a distinct sense there being a center. Well, that center is that being that I keep pointing us back to, the being that has no name, the Tao that cannot be spoken. So I hope that answers your question. Puya, I like saying that. That's good. Let's see. Wes, hello everyone. Love from California. Great to have you, Wes. Poppy, hello G. Thanks again for your awesome words. Well, thank you for your kind words. Oh, wow. Just a whole long list of things here. Hold on. Carla says, sorry with my English. I can't stop identifying with the body. Right now, I feel very cold and I'm always feeling hungry. To disidentify with the body doesn't mean you're not going to feel cold. You're not going to feel hunger. You're not going to feel lust. You're not going to feel tired, right? This is all the functioning of the body. But just put your notice that the body, whether it's tired or hungry or anxious or relaxed, there's something that's always aware of it. There's some place where the tiredness registered. The body just doesn't say, it's tired. There's just a feeling that it is generating. And something else is consciously aware of it going, the body's tired. Now that something else identifies with the body and then says, oh, I'm tired. Just don't say that. The body's tired. I'm the conscious awareness of it. And you know that it's not you because it's constantly changing. 10 minutes from now, it won't be tired. You get in front of a nice warm fire, right? And you won't be cold, right? Notice that what is being experienced is changing all the time. And we don't have to control it in order to be happy and content and peaceful. We don't have to control what we're experiencing. And so instead, what we do is we simply return our attention to that which is aware of it. This is what I call the yoga of allowing. You're just returning back to the center where you are simply aware of all of the changes that are going on in the body. And as you do that, notice how that sense of identification begins to get smaller. Notice that any discomfort and maybe even suffering in the body gets less. Because the body knows how to deal with absolutely everything that comes along. And it doesn't need your help. And you added to that also, I'm always searching for something that can help me. What you're actually searching for, Carla, is you. Not something to help you, but the you that doesn't need any help. That is that presence. Now, your mind is not going to agree with me. Most of your minds are not going to agree with me. They go, that's really great. Yeah, I can feel the presence. Wonderful. Yeah, but I got bills to pay, and my wife and I, we're not getting along, and my kids are juvenile delinquent. Right? It's got this idea that this presence has no power, that it has no authority, that it carries no weight, that it can't function. And that's the big lie. That presence is the governor, creator, and maintainer of the universe. You feel it as your very being because that's what it is. But this is the being that's in me, that's speaking to you right now, the being in you that's hearing, the being that is running all these electrons around, the being that is spinning the earth, not a physical being somewhere manipulating things or creating a bunch of laws that are operating on themselves. But all of this is happening within the great awareness that is the universal mind, the universal consciousness, the universal being, which we know of as I. When you're referring to the I that you're searching for, you're referring to that. We just think we're this little body. Oh no, the big universe, right? That's what we think we are. You're not that. You've never been that. You're never going to be that. Oops, sorry. Spun the I spun the screen around accidentally. So your mind will always be searching for something to help it, and it will never, ever find it. But you, when you search for you, you will find you. And it really is just where I pointed you. That's what it is. That's you. That is the you you're looking for. Carla says, I can't understand why if you really want to wake up, why am I doing the opposite? Why have so much resistance to be in silence, to do meditation? Well, you don't. You have the desire for it, the deep desire for it. But there's the habits, right? You have habitually identified with the separate self. That's the heart of it. I am this separate self trying to get to God. That's it. That's not true. That, oh, dear friends, get this. That isn't true. We believe it so strongly, we spend our entire lives pursuing that. We're struggling to get it. We're reaching for something, but it's not true. You aren't separate. Notice when I took you to that place of just the simple beingness, did you have to do anything to get there? Is there any effort to maintain it? Can you find any distance between that and yourself? Just put your attention there. And forget about, having to meditate more or quiet your mind or get out of resistance. Just let those all go. Let them be there. I mean, just resistance, fine. If you don't resist resistance, what's it going to do? Grab you, shake you by the neck? So hold on to me, right? Somebody hands you a gift, and you say, no, thank you, and you don't take it. Where's it go? It's got to convince you. And these are just habits of thought, nothing more. So forget about it. Don't worry about it. Don't meditate. Just be with the sense of being. Be with yourself. Be with who you are. The other sun. Hey, GP, what are your thoughts on parallel realities? If you want me to put it in like the big mystical terms, and there's all sorts of things going on, of course, right? We're having a parallel reality right now. My reality is not the same as yours. Have you met anybody that lives in your reality? There's some places where we intersect, right? We've been intersecting now. We're talking about this together. But your sense of reality, that is everything you see, your whole perception of the universe is not the same as mine. The only thing that's the same is that sense of being that I keep annoyingly pointing everybody back to. That's the only thing that is the same. That is the common experience, because it's the common experiencer. It's the one being in all of us, having an infinite number of experiences. Each one of those is a parallel universe. Now, are there other parallel universes, with other groups of, probably. There's no way we can know. And we can actually waste a lot of time trying to figure it out and wondering about it. And we think, oh, there are other parallel realities. And then we can try to make up ways in which we can connect with these other realities. And all of that's imaginary, because there's simply no way we would know. There's no connection between the two, right? I mean, radio waves, right? You and I look out a window and we can see through it, because a window, while it's a solid substance, visible light can pass through it. Well, this wall, right? Higher frequencies of light, radio waves and stuff, pass right through it, no problem. Your Wi-Fi passes right through it, no problem. From the Wi-Fi's perspective, this isn't even here. It's totally invisible, right? It's like a window. Right? That's a different reality, isn't it? Are there other beings? There could be crowds. There could be a party going on in this room at a completely different level. And I'll never know about it. All I can do as a spiritual teacher is say, yes, but it's not important, because it's an experience and it's not anything you can really validate. What is important? Being the beingness, becoming so centered in that beingness that the I returns back home and you feel in you the power that is operating the universe. And guess what? If there are parallel realities, they are experiencing exactly in the same way we are. It is the same self. Since we're all connected and every perspective in the universe is valid, then wouldn't that mean we can access parallel realities, even if the body is an illusion of the universe? I just highly recommend people to access the reality. Remember, we say realities. How many realities can there be? We're talking about reality. We're talking about the absolute changeless truth that is the same everywhere and at all time. Okay? So when you use that term, other realities, what you're talking about is other experiences, right? And others having different experiences, can we find some place to meet? My guess is yes, we probably could, right? And again, is that where we need to put our emphasis? I want you to discover reality, the one reality that is behind all experiences, whether they be parallel or not, whether they be mine and yours, or yours and the guy next door, or you and somebody, another being who lives in the sun or something, right? I can't deny any of those. I can't prove them. All I can do is say the way to know for sure is to be the reality. Then the reality will know exactly where it is. It'll know what it's expressing. We need to come out of being identified with that which is the experience that reality is having and sink back into the reality that's having the experience. And the way to do that, the doorway to that, is that sense of beingness that is the I am. All questions get answered there, right? And you don't need to validate it through, scientific methods. You don't need instruments. You just know, because it is everywhere all the time and the source of everything. If you are the source of everything, all questions are answered. There's still some kind of guidance activity that I feel I can access higher levels. Yes, there are. Right? You're absolutely right. There are higher levels, right? But don't think of them as higher levels in another place. Think of them as higher levels, deeper aspects of yourself. That's why you can access them, because they are of yourself. They're always an aspect of you, an undiscovered aspect of you. And it's going to explode. It's going to keep getting bigger, because your view of yourself is this big. So from this point of view, if this is all I am, then all this stuff out here, the higher knowledge, is going to look like it's coming from somewhere else, right? But if this isn't really true, if this isn't really all there is to me, and that expands, now suddenly that information, that special esoteric knowledge that seemed to be coming from someplace else, suddenly you go, oh, it was coming from me the whole time. Where do these boundaries end? It only looks like it's somewhere else because you have an imaginary boundary in your mind. Drop the boundary, and there is no place else. There's only here, and there's only now, and there's only you, the one being. And that being doesn't need a name. And that being is the same in all beings. It is the consciousness that is experiencing right now. See, the brain is a perception. Yes, the brain is a perception. Exactly. The brain is simply another image being held in consciousness. That's all it is. People talk about the holographic universe, right? Well, if there's a holographic universe, well, the brain is in that holographic universe. So who's holding the hologram? They always want to make the brain, keep wanting to bring it back to something solid, objective, and material, that's where it's all happening. But that is in the hologram. So where does the hologram live? From a spiritual standpoint, Oh, Shamsa says, beautiful. Thank you. Ah, you're absolutely, thank you. I know this is, That's All Folks, which I think he said was in England. Did you say it was in England? Let me look back here real quick. That's all for Holland. Ah, great. Hello, Holland. I haven't been to Holland in, geez, 15 years. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh my goodness, I've got so many now. I love it. I'll just keep going as long as you guys want to keep going. Let's see. From a spiritual standpoint, how would you describe ADD, attention deficit disorder? It's very simple. You know, spiritual, neurological, in this case, they're all the same. We have just been trained to be distracted. And these days, look, look at all the opportunity for being distracted. We have just trained the nervous system to jump from one thing to another, which isn't natural for it to do. And it gets into that habit, and it can't sit anywhere long enough to concentrate on something. And it can eventually get quite dysfunctional. And there's this, and it's very stressful. And the nervous system was never designed to do that. It was designed to do things in the background, but basically is I'm focusing my attention here. There's a part of me looking for danger. There's another smaller part that's looking for more opportunity, you know, to mate or eat something else, right? That's it. Now, all of a sudden, it's getting bombarded with information and it has no way of sorting out what's important and what isn't. Right? And so we all are suffering from it. I find it happening. I'll be sitting there doing something. There'll be a moment. There'll be like a break. And it'll be like, oh, check Facebook. You know, a little thing comes up in the corner of your screen, you know, beep, hey, you got a message, right? You got mail back in the old days. And now I'm going, wow. I mean, it's just part of the trend. It's almost like you can't help it. I make a conscious effort to stop, put my hands in my lap and just go, no, come back to my beingness, come back here. So it is rampant, right? The solution is not drug people, okay? Because the problem is the way we're living. Right? It's the food we're eating. It's the constant distraction. It's not knowing how to relax. It's constant pressure, constant information, constant bombardment, constantly trying to get your attention, mostly to sell you something, some idea or ideology or object to get your money. None of it was designed for the sustaining, the development, or the care and feeding of human life. And that's the world we're in. So you got to do it for yourself. Take back that time. I actually made a set, I think it's 5 guided meditations called The Integrated Life, where I deal with exactly that. You can get it at mhicourses.com. And it's very, very useful to just kind of come back. So the brain is a perception. How trippy. LOL. Yes, it is. Isn't it trippy? It's trippy until you get that you are consciousness. Consciousness has no form. It has no place. It's not in space. It's not in time. It is simply the awareness that is aware of my words right this moment. That's you. Now, that sense of you has identified itself with the body. This is really important because when you identify the body, consciousness literally takes its infinite freedom and creates a world in which it is very finitely constrained. And it's all happening within the mind. It is all happening within God. It isn't real. It's a dream. But we believe it to be real, and we believe it so much that it feels real, and everything seems real, and I feel really stuck, and then I get spiritual practices to try to get liberated from it, or I do personal development to try to free myself up, or I practice some kind of thing to reprogram my subconscious mind, and all of it is false. None of it's true, because the only problem is you identified with something that isn't you. You got in your car and never got out of the car and think, I am my car. And you're just sitting in your car. Like, get out of the car. You're not in it. It's not you. It's just a vehicle you're driving around. Let's see. For 20 years, I thought I was the most important thing that keeps me alive. Now I realize it's a perception. Like I don't have a brain or body in my dreams, but I still have an experience. Yes. Now I know what I'm saying is really different. I'm giving a completely different interpretation of experience, because others would say, oh no, it's functions going on in the brain and all that. And I go, look for yourself. How can the brain function without something aware of it functioning? Oh, it's self-aware. Show me the self-awareness. Show me the self-awareness thing in the brain, especially when it's scattered all over the place. It's very concrete to me that I've come to this place of seeing consciousness is all there is. Consciousness is not a byproduct of matter. Matter was a creation of consciousness. And it doesn't even exist as matter. It's simply consciousness aware of itself. When I believe it to be separate from me, it's got to be made out of something. And that word goes back about 3,000 years to the Greeks. They coined the phrase matter, and that all of this broke down to these fundamental things, which they called atoms, which we then smashed, and they got smaller and smaller and smaller. And we're still, 3,000 years later, we're looking for this thing, this primary indivisible thing. We've never found it. You know, if I was looking for my keys for 3,000 years, I'd say, screw it, and get another set of keys. Right? Look for yourself. Everything is experienced in, of, and through consciousness. It's the one constant. This is to be become simply self-evident. Remington, did I miss something? What's Remington? Where are you, Remington? Wow. Oh, why does suchness continually leave? Okay, buddy. Who noticed the suchness leave? That's suchness. It left. Who said it left? What's that? The thing that noticed it leave and notice it come. Again, what you're noticing is the sense or thought or feeling or idea of suchness, which comes and goes. You're also noticing that attention shifts from one thing to another. And you think that that attention is who you are. But what is it that notices that, oh, I've been distracted? My attention went somewhere else. Something noticed that. That's suchness. Suchness never comes and goes. Consciousness is always there. It couldn't not be. If it really did go away, it'd be total blank, gone, oblivion, nothing. You would not exist. The only reason anything can appear as experience is because you're always there. And this awareness, this is the Tao that cannot be spoken, right? This is not suchness as an idea. This is not an experience. This is not a feeling. This is unknowable as a thing. You know it as yourself. The Tao cannot be known. It can only be what you are. Why is there movement away from it? I've had voice, posture, behavior, and various other changes. Why do they come and go? Because everything in the manifest world comes and goes. That's its nature. That which notices everything in the universe coming and going isn't coming and going. But it's not an object that we can point to and say, oh, there it is. Because if you're pointing and say, there it is, I would ask you, well, who's pointing and saying, there it is? I keep doing, I know I'm annoying, sorry. I keep bringing back to exactly the same thing every single time, because it always comes back to that. It's what's doing the seeing. It is not what is seen. If you can see it, if you can perceive it in any way, it isn't you by definition, right? That's two. Which means that you, as the ultimate perceiver, cannot be perceived. The only way you perceive yourself is to know yourself. To know yourself is to simply know that sense of being. Everything explodes from there. That is the singularity. That is the real meaning of the Big Bang. Everything explodes from there. But it doesn't explode into a bunch of pieces. The expression of it explodes in all directions, but it has never been in space or time in the first place. Let's see. You need contrast every now and then to appreciate that suchness. Yes. Yeah, it's very true. You need to, in order to know experience, there has to be a duality. Duality is not a problem, folks. It's only when you believe that that duality exists independently of non-duality. Right? They're one and the same. The Tao is you, but the Tao isn't just this thing inside of this essence, and then there's this body going on. It permeates it. This is the Tao. You are the Tao. Every function of it. Your eye is the Tao. The consciousness that's aware of my words, it's the Tao. Everything is in, of, and made of the Tao. The suchness, the isness, the beingness, all the different names that we have for it. Right? It's not separate from it. I am the Tao. The Tao is me. It's like saying, well, there's life and then there's me and I'm living life. Well, who are you that are living life? You're life. This is the appearance of life. You're not something else. Life made you and then set you over there somewhere. This is it. This is the whole of it. It is just, bam, I just keep pounding away at it. You'll get it, because the mind just keeps going, yeah, but there's this and then there's that. And no, just forget that. Forget that. Just be here for a second and be with the present. It's like, oh my goodness. Could any of this be appearing if you weren't here? It is one with you. They say in Hindu, drishti, shrishti, vada. Nothing exists unless it is perceived. The perceiving of the thing and the thing are the same. They're one. There's no difference. It's not two. And so it really is not dual or non-dual. None of those really apply to the Tao. Can't be named at all. As Buddha would say, neither exists nor doesn't exist. It doesn't. Those words have no meaning. And yet, are you not fully and totally aware of being? Do you need any explanation for it? Are there any words that could even capture it? And would it be any difference if we had the perfect word for capturing the essence, the beingness of the allness of things? Would it make any difference whatsoever in terms of what we're actually experiencing? Okay, we got one more from Puya. You guys are exhausting me today. Last question. People with mental illness and some physical illness, such brain atrophy, could experience the Enlightenment. In my case, totally lost. I totally lost the self of being and just feeling pain. I'm sorry, Puya, I don't quite understand the last part, but the functioning of the body, and sometimes the bodies don't function as well. Look, I'm 65 years old, right? My body does not function the same way it did 20 years ago or 40 years ago, right? So things change. Accidents happen to us, events happen to us, traumas happen, all sorts of different things happen to us, and they influence, they affect our experience, right? But nothing stands in the way of knowing who you are, because no matter what the experience is, whether it's great, where you've got an athletic, body, and you're climbing mountains, or if you're slumped like Stephen Hawking in a chair, right, and can't move, right? The essence of consciousness is identical. It's the same. Awareness of that is enlightenment. What I just showed you, that exercise, go within, feel the sense of being. That's enlightenment. That's it. That's all there is to it. You don't have to go anywhere else. It's not a great journey. It's not a great thing. It's a direct path within. Direct to the place beyond which you can't go. Can you go beyond that? Can you find something that's looking at that? You can't. The buck stops there. So nothing can stop anybody, whatever experience they have, from becoming fully and totally aware of the one that's actually having the experience. As long as our attention isn't so mesmerized by the experience and we are so identified with the experience, the moment it begins to turn inside, you find the place. So no, it does not matter at all what the body's doing, what it's going through. This isn't an intellectual endeavor. It is purely spiritual. It is purely simply looking within. How do I discover my true nature with this amount of pain? That which is aware of the pain. Oops, spun this around, sorry. That which is aware of the pain is you. Now, I'm not trying to discount the pain and whatever you might need to do to alleviate the pain. And I recommend EFT. I recommend various kinds of energy healing, body work, all sorts of stuff to help remove whatever it is that's causing this pain or causing the stuff going on in the brain. But don't think for 1 minute that it is a hindrance from you knowing who you are, because it is not. Don't let your mind tell you that it is. It's not true. Your mind will say, oh, better luck next time. Just kind of live a good life. Maybe you'll get a rebirth in India or something and you'll be okay, right? And you'll be able to attain enlightenment. It's not true. Nothing keeps you from being you. Nothing stops you from being yourself. Nothing can stop you from knowing who you are, because it is who you are. You have everything on your side because you are the self. You are the Tao, right? So everything, the deck is completely stacked in your favor. Just drop this idea that something could actually get in between you and you. How can you get in between something that's one? Let's see, Carla, what a relief. Thank you for your words. Yeah, isn't it a relief? Indeed it is. Also from Carla, if I'm not the doer, then I can't do anything to wake me up. To what degree can we do something or nothing at all? Carla, I'm just discerning that you've heard too many people talking about enlightenment and awakening and non-duality, right? And I'm not the doer, and you're trying to process it in your mind, right? What I would say to you, and give you even more relief, just drop the whole thing. Just drop it. Everything you've tried to do, even the pursuit of enlightenment, just set it all aside. Just drop the whole thing. Just be present here with me right now for a second. Just push to the side. Everything. All the ideas you have about yourself, just put it aside. All the stuff you're supposed to do. How do I attain enlightenment? Put it aside. Who cares? Meditation. How do I meditate better, quiet my mind? Put it aside. All the memories you have about the past, put them to the side. Just drop everything. Forget about it. You want to pick it up later? Go ahead. But just keep dropping. Keep saying, yeah, but just drop it. Just keep going. And keep going until you're at that place that you simply can't drop anymore. And notice what can't be dropped. That which remains, that's you. That's you. That is the enlightenment. So just take the load off. Take off the burden, the yoke, the stuff that's been put upon you by various kinds of metaphysical or spiritual techniques or even well-meaning teachers. Just drop it. You are the self. You don't have to try to be. That's all it means when you say not being the doer. You don't have to do it. That sense of being that I bring you to. Did you create it? Did you do it? Or is it just there? Yeah. Just drop your mind's version of how to attain enlightenment and just be. Just be yourself. The ROM HQ, the ROM HQ, similar to ADD, I often get aggressive in mental debates or expecting the worst in negative people around me. I've went through understanding the good intentions, yet I still catch myself doing it. Yeah, good. Yeah. You are going to catch yourself doing it. See, the problem is that when we realize that we don't really want to be that way, we're still identified with being that way, right? And we think well, okay, now I'm going to be better. I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to be more compassionate. And then when, the nasty ass comes up and you feel all that, so, you start beating yourself up for not being spiritual now, right? Look, these are patterns in the nervous system itself, okay? They're not going to go away like this. If you recognize that it's a pattern and not you, because it couldn't be you, because if it was you, you wouldn't be able to recognize it. You've already seen it as a pattern in the nervous system, part of the conditioning, which means you're standing aloof from it, right? Now, of course, the conditioning wants to drag you back in and now say, oh, we got to change it. We got to fix this. You got to become more spiritual, right? And now a whole new layer of stuff gets laid on top of you. Just go back to this place and go, right. There it is. I just caught myself. There's that impulse. I want to do it. But you know what? I don't really want that anymore. And just say, thank you. I get it. Be kind to the system. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat up your energy system. God damn it, why do I keep doing this? None of that. Just go, there it is again. Yes, of course. It's like a puppy that was trained to act in a certain way. They're going to continue to act that way. That's what they're going to do. This is no different. It's the automatic behavior of the nervous system, and it's not you. So you can just go, my intentions are to truly be a peacemaker. Right, okay. But I've got all this other stuff. This is how I used to be in the world. This is habitual. And look, the patterns that we now feel are difficult and want to get rid of served us at one point. That's what put them into place. It wasn't like you decided one day you wanted to be a jerk, you wanted to be arrogant or get aggressive. It just kind of happened naturally, just as the nervous system reacted to the environment in which you grew up, and it found the best way to survive given the conditions. But now those conditions are different. You're more mature, you're spiritually aware, and so you're creating a different environment, which the nervous system will eventually acculturate to. As long as you're kind to it, just keep creating the atmosphere of safety, it will eventually begin to migrate towards your new place, the new level of understanding you have, and then you'll be living that. The understanding that is the Tao will be literally living in your body. That's how it works, my friend. So, hope that answers your question. If not, I'll answer again. What should you do if you constantly feel distracted? Notice that you're feeling distracted. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. Bring your attention back. That you're being distracted from the present moment. It's really important to recognize that the focus of our attention is not our being. Your focus of attention is like the eye. It's hopping from one thing to another. It was designed to do that. Right? So people get the idea that somehow meditation is that I'm going to have my attention focused constantly on this one thing, right? Not even the Buddha could do that. Nobody can do that, okay? Forget it. That's not meditation. Meditation is the awareness of it bouncing around. You go, oh, there it is bouncing around. That's it. Now, that's not hard, right? It's only hard when I think I'm supposed to stop it from bouncing around, right? Well, how are you going to do that? It's like trying to stop the wind, right? As Mooji would say, it's like trying to stop the wind dressed as a kite. You're not going to do it. It's the nature of attention to wander. Like it's the nature of your eye to not be still. Your eye never sits still. Your eyes never focus anything. It never just sits there staring. It's forever moving around. That's the design of it. So when you need to focus attention to get work done and stuff, that's why I talk about distraction. It's really hard on us because when you want to get something done, you want to accomplish something and you need the attention focused, it requires some discipline to be bringing your attention back. You can create an environment, turn off, your devices, shut down Facebook and all the things that distract. So you make an environment And then when it feels uncomfortable in that environment because you're focusing your attention, just realize that it's going to take some discipline when you need the attention focused. But you're never out of the present moment. You don't need the attention to be in the present moment. It is the present moment, the now, the Tao, that is recognizing the attention is moving. So you don't have to control it, right? You can discipline it. You can bring it and make it serve you. But that is not the way to know who you are. That is not the way to find the self. And not able to decide what to do, only do habitual things, mechanical, and then realize that you were distracted. And Mark says, wow, Ramakyu, I find myself doing the same thing. Yeah. Let's see. Poppy, spend more time just being with yourself and letting yourself kind of come to discover inside things that you love and the things you don't like so much. Right? You know, you say, I only do habitual things. Part of it is our attention bouncing around. Part of it is all the distractions around us. And a part of us, and part of it, that makes the distraction so powerful is that we don't want to just sit with ourselves and be with ourselves and just notice what we're feeling. It's uncomfortable, right? To just quietly be with. Even we go into meditation with this goal of quieting the mind, right? What if you went into meditation with the goal of simply being with whatever happens to be there? And if I'm feeling, I'm not very comfortable being here. Good. Notice that you are feeling uncomfortable, and then give all of your attention and love to the discomfort and watch what happens. The only reason people bounce from one thing to another is because we become so alienated from ourselves. We don't even know what we love. We don't know what turns us on. We don't know what we care about. And the only way to find that out is to spend some quality time with you. And that means quality time being simply being in those places that are actually quite uncomfortable for us. So, are you following that? She says, I'm in my mind all the time. Sorry, I just got a message from my partner in the business. Yeah, I'm in my mind all the time and want to feel like united, but I can't. Oh, you're not in your mind all the time. That's just another thought. You're never in your mind. Your mind isn't a thing. Your mind's in you. You're never in it. Right? You're just so used to. It's just part of the spiritual talk. I'm in my mind. I mean, I tell you, as a spiritual teacher, it's very frustrating to hear all these spiritual things going out there. They're just simply dumbass. That's all I can say. They're dumb, okay? You're never in your mind. It's just where our attention has been used to going, and the discomfort that goes with it, and the fact that we feel uncomfortable, we don't want to feel discomfort. I turn your attention totally towards it. You're not in your mind. You don't have to get out of your mind in order to be in peace. All you have to do is notice the mind. Watch it. It's doing what it's designed to do. You know, your eyes blink, your hair grows, your mind does stuff. It's what it does. So don't worry about it. If I could sum up this night, it's don't worry. Stop making such a big deal about all of this stuff. Just drop it all. God loves you, right? The truth loves you, right? The universe is on your side, right? Everything is conspiring to bring you to the awakening. You can't help but get there. There's no failure in this. There's not even quizzes. I mean, you just win. Right? So just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. That's the simplest advice I can give to those of you who've just gotten all wrapped up in your shorts and your panties in a bunch, female equivalent, of about all of this stuff that you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to forget it. Drop it all. You don't need it. Just come back here. come back here, here, to that sense of being. That is the God that you seek. The Ram, Mark, ain't a pinch, went through understanding them, even got the mirror reflection theory, so I would judge as I was the same, yet the thoughts return. I might be impatient though, yeah. All the efforts to improve yourself are okay, but there comes a point when you say, oh, I got it. It's not me I'm trying to improve. You don't need any improving. You're the beingness. You're the Tao. You don't need to be improved. And that, taking that place, the identity coming back to that place, the true identity, gives you absolute power over all of the conditioning. And you can turn that into the most beautiful, lovable, kind, and wise and powerful human being. And then people will look at it and marvel, and you know, people like Gandhi or Buddha or Christ, or you go, whoa, it's just the pure reality of the Tao shining through. Love Rumi. Yeah, me too. I love Rumi. How do we perceive a non-thing like suchness? You can't. The perceiver can't be perceived. In order to have perception, you have to have two. This is a different kind of knowing. Muji refers to it as non-phenomenal recognition. It is a pure subject without an object. But I don't know if you're here in the beginning when I did that little exercise, but just notice, are you not aware of your being? And is there any distance between you aware of your being and the being that you're aware of? They're one. The perceiver, the perceived, and the perceiving are all one, and that is the suchness. Thanks again, G. Oh, thank you, Poppy. Mark D, it's funny when I think about it. Oh, conversations going on back and forth. This is great. What a lively group I had today. This is absolutely wonderful. Did I get any? Let me check back over here, make sure, because I've not seen many comments. Oh, love that thought about meditation. Thanks for clarifying. You're very welcome. Clara, Elin, hello, Elin. Francisco, hola desde España. Hola from Spain. See, I got a little bit of Spanish. And okay, cool. All right, it's going on 5:30. I think I've exhausted the queue here. Got smiley faces. Able to smile about several intense challenges at present. I know I'm the background and in the satsang with you. I am the Tao too. Thank you, Chrissy. Oh, Chrissy, your progress has just lit me up. I'm just so happy about it. Gladiator. Oh, my friend. GP, how to recognize if events we are experiencing are expressions of our conditioning, action, or our vibration. There's no difference. There's no difference. Your vibration is the conditioning. That which you actually are doesn't vibrate. It gives rise to all vibrations, but it itself is absolutely still. It is stillness itself. It is pure peace. So everything that happens, right, just be with it, right? Everything that happens, when the conditioning through which, boy, this is a whole subject in itself. Maybe I'll do this next week. But everything arises out of who you actually are. All desires, all feelings, all impulse, all ambitions, all of it is arising innocently and purely from who you are. It then, that pure essence, that pure desire, runs into our conditioning, you see. And when it runs into that conditioning, it gets colored by it, and it seems to be influenced or shaped by it, right? And therefore, it's you know, I use the example of the pianist. The pianist sits down and plays the piano. Depending on the quality of the piano, what good shape it is, the kind of piano, all that is going to determine what it sounds like. It's no reflection whatsoever on the mastery of the one sitting down to play, but it certainly is going to be constricting their performance. And this is what it's like. The pureness of you comes up to be expressed, but it can only work with so much. The more we're clearing out the conditioning, the more freedom of expression we have. Right? Until finally, it's not even a vibration. It's just the pure expression of truth. The pure Tao is appearing as the human being. There's no more conditioning left. There's always a little, but it becomes irrelevant. It doesn't really cloud anymore. That's kind of the brief answer for that, because I'm trying to get through the rest of the questions. It's already gone for an hour and a half. Jason Scott, gee, I experienced several years of being pretty dang awake, and it was amazing. I've now somehow retreated to nonstop fear and suffering. Have you ever heard of this? Yes, I have. So don't worry about it. Right? The only reason there's pain or suffering in the experience of the fear of the things that are coming up is that you think they're not supposed to. Right? The moment of awakening is really misunderstood by pretty much everyone. Think, oh, that's it. Ah, hallelujah. That's it. End of the road. No. Now, all of that energy of awakening has got to go in and colonize the nervous system. It's got to start replacing. It's got to start regrooving everything, so that now the pure reality of who you are starts to become made manifest. As they say in the Bible, the word gets made flesh. It dwells among us, right? So as that awakening pierces in, starts to dig deeply into the cells, stuff's going to come up. Old patterns from multiple lifetimes, traumatic events, right? Defensive postures, all sorts of care. You're going to find yourself yelling at somebody and go, wait, I thought I was beyond that. And if you don't know any better, or you get mistaught, somebody's going to say, well, you're not really awake then. The awakening was real, but it's not the end of the line. It's just the beginning, right? Give it permission to take over. Whatever little glimmer you feel left, just cherish it. Bring it into your heart. Invite it into the body. This is very different. There's one course I do. It's available for a little bit longer, From Delusion to Awakening, where I make the point of there's a practice, a sadhana that you do before awakening occurs, and then there's a sadhana for after awakening occurs. I mean, I call it, my approach to it is what I call inner reconciliation. It brings you up to the point of seeing, and then once that seeing takes place, it begins to then provide the basis by which this can become integrated. This can begin to sink in and take over the energy and begin to displace all the old conditioning and pains and traumas and wounds and vows that have been, restricting you and forming it's basically, the piano is kind of broken down. It's out of tune, right? That awakening that purer ear coming begins to tune it up, put the legs back on, fix the keys, so the thing can begin to really be the instrument that it was meant to be. Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks again, G and Mark C. This is going to be fun. This is wonderful, you guys. Chrissy says, I know that it's true. Magnetism and inevitability are becoming more intense. Beautiful, Chrissy. Beautiful, Chrissy. Wonderful. All right. I'm going to check over here on Facebook one more time because I'm exhausted. Whoa. Thank you all for being here. Absolutely delightful. All right. Notifications, messages. All right. Wonderful. Okay, everybody. Thank you for being here. You kept me up. You kept me going. I love it. This is what I love to do most. So please stop by MHI courses. I'm discounting all the old courses and the like, focusing all my attention on MasterHEART, on the inner reconciliation core teaching. So if you want to take some of these other courses, they're available. They're only going to be available for a little bit longer. So thank you, everybody. I love you all. I love you all. Until later. Namaste. finish.